Welcome back to Rasmafsar TV. Today I'm taking you to Cueva Pintada, or Painted Cave, which is located in Gáldar, a small town in Gran Canaria. It is said that Gáldar was the capital city of the original inhabitants of Gran Canaria, Aborigines. So the Painted Cave is actually, as you see here, an archaeological museum and park located, as I mentioned it before, in the town of Gáldar. So where is Gáldar located? It is located in the northwest of Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands, Spain. This important site is part of the Spanish Ministry of Culture, Historical Heritage and Museums, and plays an important role. You can find inside it the most representative archaeological vestiges of pre-Hispanic Canaries with its unique characteristic signs. So what is the Painted Cave? If you want to make a comparison, it is considered as the Sistine Chapel of the former inhabitants of the island, the Canary, or the Aborigines of the Canary Island. The Painted Cave is located at number 2 Audiencia Street in the center of Gáldar, 27th kilometer west of Las Palmas, and 50 kilometers northwest of the international airport of Gran Canaria. Its discovery is concerned, it was discovered in 1862 during agricultural works when a hole was made in its roof. The official discovery of it, but it had to wait until 1873 when José Ramos Orihuela visited the cave. Later on, in 1876, Gregorio Chil y Naranjo shortly mentions the cave in his studies. And 6 years later, in 1882, Diego Ripoche visited the cave and he prepared some drawings, wrote about Cueva Pintada, and proposed and made a suggestion to the local government that they should acquire the site and take care of it. 3 years later, meaning in 1887, French anthropologist René Verneau visited the cave, wrote a detailed account about the Cueva Pintada, and also described each panel of the painting in detail. By the end of the 19th century, a revival in the awareness of the importance of conservation issues for historical works started, and in Museo Canario, the Canary Museum Review, or in El Museo Canario Review, Chronicle Batilori y Lorenzo writes about it, Mi Ultima Tentativa, in which he appealed for the protection of the cave. But only in 1967, a public campaign started to protect the cave, and meanwhile the paintings started to deteriorate. In 1970, the General Commission of Archaeological Excavations, Comisaría General de Excavaciones Arqueológicas, started working on the protection of the cave. Especially, they started to take care and do something against the humidity that was causing much damage on Cueva Pintada. So they completed the whole project with an enclosure to protect the cave, and in 1972 the site was declared monument historique artistique, historical artistic monument in English. Antonio Beltran and Jose Miguel Azzola realized the first systematic study, where they published the whole study in 1974, and their studies, they had the first color photographs and the most exact drawings to the date. So this was a very important step to help protect this site, this cave. The problem were, of course, the plantations which were watered nearby, and the inadequate protection of the enclosure, the inadequate protection of the enclosure, and the absence of planning for the visits. Additionally, they had to face the chemical soil treatments for agricultural purposes, and the inadequate ventilation of the premises were the main factors in increasing the temperature and humidity in the cave happened. And all this contributed to the damage on the paintings. What happened was expropriation procedures happened regarding the cultivated land close to the Cueva Pintada, and the site was closed to the public in October 1982. On July 26, 2006, Cueva Pintada, or the Painted Cave Museum and Archaeological Park of Gáldar, opened, and this was 24 years, and this was after 24 years of systematic excavations and restoration of the site. And then they made it fit for the public visits. Is a superb example of artistic representations of the ancient natives of Gran Canaria, Aborigines. And we should note that humans excavated the whole thing in volcanic material. Its walls are decorated with geometrical patterns. Archaeologists believe, as far as these geometrical patterns of Cueva Pintada are concerned, they think because of the regular distribution, usually in series of 12, they should be sort of calendar. Parts of this museum which are not original, like the things you see here, there were reproduction houses, so it's also interesting to get a feeling in these reproduction parts, but you can easily tell which parts are archaeological, which part are reproductions, how the original inhabitants lived. And you will understand the importance of this Cueva Pintada, because Gran Canaria is the only Canarian islands to have painted caves. And additionally, it is the only location on Gran Canaria that brought the proof of the existence of common wheat on the island, as it is difficult to tell the difference from the seed grain. The site also has remains of houses in which they found different tools and utensils. The collection counts, among other items, what they have are locally made decorated ceramic pots and paintings, It also has some ceramics made on pottery wheel on the continent, as well as coins. They have also collection. What these Aborigines collected are coins, swords, horseshoes, nails, everyday use items like knives, thimbles, and most coins are from the 15th and 16th century. So it seems and clear that all metal items were important, kept by the Aboriginals here. And the sword is very interesting. Also, knives, metal swords, and knives are interesting, which they imported here and kept also here. Some pots are large and were used for storage, others were used for cooking. Some pots are completely covered with geometrical patterns, and in some cases they include the butts. In some cases, some of these pots also have geometrical patterns on the bottom. Additionally, we should note that Gran Canaria is the only Canary Island where painted pottery has been found. "20 years of excavations have shown and uncovered a whole settlement beyond the painted cave Cueva Pintada. So it was a small village or a whole hamlet used to spread from the bottom of the valley up to the present city center. The neighborhood made up or constituted pre-Hispanic Gáldar, and the hamlet was settled from the 6th century until the 11th century, and then again from the 13th century until the 16th century and the subsequent Spanish conquest of the island. The shape of the houses were quadrangular, and these houses were surrounded outside by circular walls. They had 1 or 2 lateral bedrooms, and these bedrooms opened towards the south through a small corridor. The floor was covered with packed earth and in some cases of stones. Some of these stones were colored with red ochre. The walls were made either of basalt or well-dressed blocks of tuff. And almost all the houses here show remains of mortar and of paints of different colors that decorated the rooms. Dating the site is concerned, the first carbon-14 analysis made on the cave was on the wall paintings, but no results could be gained from it because the paint used had no trace of carbon because they were entirely non-organic, ochre. Then some vegetal remains of a plant from the family Lauraceae were found in the mortar in the walls, and these remains were subsequently analyzed by the CSIC laboratory and that of the French CNRS and dated between 1049 and 1257 Anno Domini or CE, and some fragments of pine tree were dated between 601 to 994. The goals of Cueva Pintada Museum or Painted Cave Museum and Archaeological Park. They try to and they pursue the conservation, cataloging, and exhibition of the archaeological artifacts in its custody, as well as the management and conservation of the site. Additionally, another goal is the development of a program of educational actions and diffusion with regard to its contents and themes and topics. and the research within its specialty, keeping in mind the ones directly related with the conservation of the decorated room. Very well visited and has registered many visitors during, from its opening up to now. And so many visitors keep visiting this site. It is a very important site, and also it has a didactic classroom where a program of activities are aimed at education centers, and it has labs and a library for researchers and visitors to work and to contribute to the scientific research here. Interesting for you to know is that the site also has remains of houses, as I mentioned that, and these houses have also many utensils and tools. These tools and collection of which was found, or the tools which were found, contain locally made decorated ceramic pots and paintings, also ceramics made on the pottery wheel on the continent, as well as coins, swords, horseshoes, nails, everyday use items such as knives, thimbles, and most coins are from the 15th and 16th century. These items, these metal items, were of course imported. This is now the painting of Cueva Pintada, and this is another picture of this painting, because you cannot take pictures of the original, you can go and only visit it. That's why you don't see it here on this site here. And these items are very, very interesting for me, especially for me, because they kept a sword blade, as I will show it to you later, and next to the potteries, as you will see here, right? Some pots are large and were used for storage, others were used for cooking. The local pottery was handmade. Many of them represent a finely polished surface and are decorated with paint. Generally, ochre red applied before firing them in a hole in the ground. Some pots are completely covered with geometrical patterns, and also at the bottom of the pots. As I mentioned it before, Gran Canaria is the only Canary island where painted pottery has been found. And here you see these fired clay statues of idols with human and animal figures, and most human idols are feminine and are associated with maternity, as you can see them here. Mentioned, there is also a sword blade, which is of course in a rusted state, and also knife blades, which were traded items and kept by these Aborigines, old Canarians here, Aborigines here. And this is very interesting for me to see a sword blade, a metal sword blade, steel sword blade kept here. Also the knives, and as I mentioned, other items. state that the site has many visitors, and it is one of the most visited places in the Canary Islands, and even some say in the whole of Spain. So it's one of the most important major archaeological sites in Europe. Thank you for visiting my channel. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. And if you have any questions, just ask and comment. Please subscribe to my channel and like and help me in my research. Thank you very much.